The night was heavy with silence, broken only by the creak of old wood as Elena walked into the dimly lit room. Her chest tightened as she saw the shattered photograph frame lying on the floor, glass scattered like frozen tears. Elena whispered, "Why does it feel like the past keeps breaking into the present?" She bent down, trembling fingers brushing over the picture of her and Daniel, the one memory she thought was safe. Suddenly the door slammed behind her, a sharp echo rattling her heart. Marcus's voice came like thunder. "You were never meant to find that." Elena turned, eyes wide, the truth pressing down like a crushing wave. For the first time, she realized the love she trusted was a mask hiding something far darker. Elena's hands trembled as she pressed the photo closer to her chest. She whispered, "Daniel promised me this would never break." Marcus's silence weighed heavier than thunder, his eyes carrying truths he dared not speak. The storm outside hammered the glass, each strike like a warning. The air felt suffocating, thick with betrayal. Elena's breath came in uneven gasps, her mind spinning with questions. She looked at Marcus and demanded, "What have you hidden from me all this time?" Her voice cracked, yet her gaze held fire. Marcus's lips parted, but no words came, only the haunting silence of a secret waiting to destroy everything. The room shook with tension as Elena's voice echoed against the walls. Marcus finally muttered, "The truth isn't yours to carry." She stepped forward, rage and fear colliding in her chest. "It was mine all along," she said, her words trembling but sharp. The storm's rhythm seemed to match her heartbeat, faster with every passing second. Marcus's shadow stretched toward her, consuming the fragments of light between them. For the first time, she saw not just the man, but the weight of his silence. It was a silence heavy enough to crush her spirit, yet she refused to bend beneath it. Elena's pulse raced as she pressed her back against the wall, every fiber of her being telling her to run, but her heart refusing to flee. Marcus lowered his voice, his tone like a blade. "You don't know the weight of what you're asking." Her tears burned hot against her cheeks as she whispered, "Then show me, Marcus." The storm roared, lightning flashing through the cracked window, casting jagged patterns across the room. For a fleeting second, she thought she saw Daniel's face in the reflection of the broken glass, haunting and distant, like a ghost demanding to be remembered. The silence stretched until Elena's voice broke it, soft yet piercing. "If you've buried the truth, then you've buried me with it." Marcus froze, his jaw tight, eyes flickering like a man cornered by his own guilt. The storm raged louder, the house groaning as if it shared their pain. Elena clutched the photograph closer, feeling its broken edges dig into her skin, a wound both real and symbolic. In that moment she understood, the truth wasn't simply hidden, it had been guarded like a weapon. And tonight, the walls of lies that bound her heart had finally begun to crack. The storm eased to a drizzle as Elena sat alone in her bedroom, clutching the broken photograph like a wound that refused to heal. She whispered, "Daniel, why does your silence feel louder than the thunder?" Her voice trembled, filling the hollow space where comfort should have been. The room smelled of damp wood and dust, the rain tapping a mournful rhythm against the glass. She closed her eyes, recalling the warmth of Daniel's laughter, now only an echo torn apart by betrayal. "If I ever mattered to you," she whispered again, "then why is my world breaking under the weight of secrets I can't escape?" Morning came gray and heavy, the sky weighed down with clouds as if mirroring her grief. Elena moved through the kitchen slowly, every step echoing in the silence of a house that no longer felt like home. She poured coffee into a chipped mug, her hands shaking. Marcus's words lingered like smoke, choking every breath. She whispered to herself, "I just need one piece of truth to hold on to." The bitter taste of coffee did little to steady her, the warmth fading too quickly, leaving only the chill of unanswered questions gnawing at her soul. Grace arrived unannounced, her eyes full of concern as she stepped into the hollow quiet of Elena's home. "You look like you've been carrying the world on your shoulders," Grace said softly. Elena forced a smile that never reached her eyes. The world broke last night, Grace. Grace reached for her hand, steady and warm, offering an anchor when the tide threatened to drown her. Then let me carry some of it with you, Grace replied. For the first time since the truth began to shatter her, Elena felt the faint stir of strength in the bond of friendship. Grace leaned closer, her voice low, carrying the weight of shared sorrow. You can't let Marcus's shadow become your prison. Elena stared at her, eyes brimming with tears, whispering, but every path feels locked by secrets. Grace pressed her hand tighter, firm yet kind. Secrets can only hold power if you let them. Outside, the drizzle turned to sunlight breaking timidly through the clouds, fragile but steady. For the first time in days, Elena let herself breathe deeper, her heart aching with the possibility that healing could begin with a single step toward truth. As Grace prepared to leave, she paused at the doorway, turning back with a steady gaze. You're stronger than the lies, Elena. Don't let them define you. Elena stood frozen, the words striking deeper than she expected. She whispered, but what if I'm not ready for the truth? Grace's smile was small but full of faith. Then let it find you when you are. Until then, don't let go of yourself. When the door closed behind her, Elena pressed her palm to her chest, feeling both the ache of fear and the fragile spark of hope. Elena walked through the marketplace, every sound sharper than usual, as though the world knew her heart was breaking. She spotted Samuel leaning by a stall, his familiar smile dulled by worry. You shouldn't be here, he said. Elena steadied her breath, replying, I can't hide anymore, Samuel. He studied her face, seeing the storm behind her eyes. Secrets like these can swallow you whole. Her voice cracked, then let me drown finding the truth. The weight of his silence told her he knew more than he was willing to share, and that truth cut deeper than lies. Samuel lowered his voice, leaning closer. Marcus isn't just protecting secrets. He's protecting himself. Elena felt her chest tighten, fear and fury colliding. Then he's been burying me in his lies. The market noises blurred as her focus locked on his words. You need to tread carefully, Samuel warned, his tone more plea than advice. She straightened, resolve burning through the ache. Careful, won't bring back what I've lost. For the first time, her grief began to harden into determination, the fragile shell of fear cracking as she prepared to confront the shadow that had bound her. That evening, Elena stood before the mirror, staring at her reflection like it belonged to someone else. Her fingers grazed the fractured photo resting on the dresser. I don't even know who I am anymore, she whispered. The shadows of the room clung tightly, swallowing her words. In the glass, Daniel's face in the photo seemed to mock her silence. She clenched her jaw. If truth destroys me, then at least I'll know who I was. The mirror reflected not just her fear, but the birth of defiance, the spark of a woman no longer willing to be broken. When Marcus returned that night, the air thickened with unspoken battle. Elena stood waiting in the hallway, the photo clutched in her hand. You've lied to me long enough, she said, her voice like steel wrapped in sorrow. Marcus's face hardened, but his eyes flickered with something fragile, almost fear. You don't understand what's at stake, he said, his tone trembling beneath its weight. Elena stepped forward, lifting the broken frame between them. Then make me understand. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating their faces like opposing truths colliding in the storm. The house seemed to hold its breath as Marcus turned away, shoulders heavy with secrets. If I speak, it will ruin everything, he muttered. Elena's voice cut through the silence, trembling yet unyielding. It's already ruined. I'm just trying to survive the wreckage. He stopped, fists clenched at his sides, his shadow stretching across the wall like a cage around her. For the first time, Elena felt the balance shift. Fear still clawed at her chest, but strength burned brighter beneath it. She whispered, more to herself than him, the truth will find me, with or without you. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog that refused to lift. Elena wandered into the old chapel at the edge of town, her steps echoing in the hollow silence. She lit a candle, her trembling hands betraying the storm inside her. "If there is still light left for me," she whispered, "let it guide me through this darkness." The flames flickered, bending to a draft like fragile hope resisting despair. In the stillness she felt Daniel's absence press harder than ever, a reminder that love had been buried beneath secrets too heavy to carry alone. Grace found her there, her footsteps soft against the worn stone floor. "You look like you're asking for answers in places that won't speak back," she said gently. Elena looked up, eyes hollow yet burning. "Maybe silence is better than the lies I've been given." Grace knelt beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "Silence can't heal you. Facing the truth will." Elena's lips trembled, torn between the comfort of denial and the pain of revelation. She whispered, "Then I need to know who I've been all this time." Grace's gaze held steady, urging her to be brave. Later that night, Elena returned home to find Marcus waiting in the living room, shadows stretching around him like chains. "You've been digging where you shouldn't," he said coldly. Elena set her jaw, refusing to step back. "I'm done living in the dark." His glare cut deep, but beneath it flickered exhaustion, as if he too was crumbling under the weight of hidden truths. "You'll regret what you're chasing," he muttered. She answered softly but firmly, "I already regret what I've lost. What more can your silence take from me?" Her defiance startled even herself. Elena sat later with Samuel in the park, the night air sharp with autumn chill. He studied her face as though searching for the pieces she was losing. "You're walking a dangerous line," he warned. She exhaled heavily. "Danger has already found me, Samuel. I need to finish this." His eyes softened, filled with unspoken care. "Just promise me you won't lose yourself chasing ghosts." She smiled faintly, bitter yet grateful. "If I do, then at least I'll know I fought for the truth." Samuel looked away, his silence carrying the weight of a warning he couldn't voice. That night, Elena lay awake staring at the ceiling, the storm's echoes replaying in her mind. Her hand clutched the cracked photo on the pillow beside her, its edges biting into her palm. "Daniel," she whispered into the dark. "If you left me with lies, I'll still uncover what you hid." The silence around her felt alive, pressing in with questions unanswered. Tears slid down her temples, soaking into the sheets, but she didn't wipe them away. For the first time, the grief no longer felt like drowning. It felt like fire, painful but pushing her to rise. The next morning, Elena found an envelope slipped beneath her door, the paper damp from dew. Her hands shook as she tore it open, revealing a letter in Daniel's handwriting. The words blurred as tears welled in her eyes. "I never wanted you to carry this truth," it began. Her heart pounded as she read on. The ink smudged in places as though written with trembling hands. He confessed to choices that had broken more than promises. They had broken lives. Elena pressed the paper to her chest, her breath shallow. The silence of the house screamed louder than thunder. She rushed to Grace, her voice breaking as she read the letter aloud. Grace's face paled, her lips parting in shock. "Daniel, he carried this all alone," Grace whispered. Elena's hands trembled. "And he left me to carry the pieces." Grace pulled her close, whispering fiercely, "He left you with pain, but not without strength." Elena buried her face into her friend's shoulder, sobs muffled by the weight of words written by the man she once trusted most. For the first time, Daniel's absence felt less like loss and more like betrayal that demanded to be answered. Later, Elena confronted Marcus, the letter trembling in her hand. "You knew," she accused, her voice quivering between rage and sorrow. Marcus's jaw tightened, eyes averting hers. "It wasn't mine to reveal." She stepped closer, fire burning through her grief. "And yet you let me live blind in the ruins." His silence spoke louder than any denial, his shoulders sagging as though crushed by the weight of hidden years. For the first time she saw not just his strength, but his fragility, the cracks in his armor bleeding with guilt. Yet his refusal still chained her heart to pain. Samuel arrived quietly, sensing the tension crackling like fire between them. He glanced at the letter, then at Elena's trembling hands. "This changes everything," he said, his tone edged with sorrow. Elena looked at him, her eyes pleading. "Tell me you knew nothing." His silence betrayed him, and her breath caught like glass shattering in her chest. "Even you," she whispered, disbelief cutting deeper than anger. Samuel lowered his gaze. "I only wanted to protect you." The words fell heavy, suffocating, as Elena realized every hand that reached to save her had also hidden pieces of truth. Elena stumbled back, the room closing in as the truth caved around her. She pressed the letter to her chest, her voice breaking. "All of you knew pieces, and none of you gave me the whole." Marcus's face stiffened, Samuel's eyes lowered, and silence filled the air like suffocation. Elena's tears fell freely, but behind them burned something sharper than grief. She whispered, steady and fierce, "If you all want, give me the truth, I'll find it myself." Her voice cut through the heavy silence, marking the moment her sorrow transformed into defiance that could no longer be contained. Elena stormed out into the night, the letter clenched in her hand like a blade. The rain fell in sheets, drenching her hair and clothes, but she didn't falter. She cried into the storm, "I will not be silent anymore." The streets echoed with her voice, raw and unbroken. She stopped beneath the old oak where Daniel once whispered promises, now hollow lies. Her chest heaved, rage and grief colliding in fire. She pressed the letter against the tree, whispering through clenched teeth, "You left me broken, but you will not leave me blind." Lightning split the sky above. Marcus followed her into the storm, his figure looming through sheets of rain. "Elena, stop!" he shouted, but his voice cracked with desperation. She spun to face him, her eyes ablaze. "You built walls of lies around me, Marcus. Do you even remember the truth yourself?" His silence was louder than thunder, his fists clenching at his sides. For a moment he looked less like a man of control, and more like one trapped in his own cage. She stepped closer, rain streaking down her face like tears of defiance. "I will tear down every wall, even if it ruins me." Samuel appeared from the shadows, his face torn between guilt and fear. "Elena, don't push this further," he pleaded, rain dripping from his brow. She turned sharply, betrayal blazing in her voice. "You let me drown when you could have pulled me out." He reached out a trembling hand, but she recoiled. "Every secret you buried was another stone on my chest." The storm roared louder, mirroring the chaos inside her. Samuel's voice broke. "I thought I was protecting you." Her tears mixed with the rain. "You weren't protecting me. You were protecting yourselves." Her words struck like thunder. Grace rushed into the storm, her green coat clinging to her like a second skin. She grabbed Elena's arm, her voice straining to rise above the thunder. "You don't have to burn yourself to find the truth." Elena's eyes blazed with sorrow and strength. "It's already burning me alive, Grace." Marcus stepped forward, shouting, "Enough!" But his voice cracked, as if breaking under years of silence. Grace held Elena tighter, whispering fiercely, "Then let it be rebirth, not ruin." For a moment, Elena faltered, her strength trembling in Grace's grip, torn between collapse and transformation. The storm reached its peak as Elena broke free from Grace's hold, her voice slicing through the chaos. "You all caged me with half-truths, but I will no longer be bound." She held the letter high, rain blurring its ink. "This is the last piece of him I'll carry, and I refuse to let it chain me anymore." Her tears mingled with rain, her face lifted to the sky. Marcus fell silent. Samuel lowered his gaze, Grace's eyes filled with both pride and sorrow. For the first time, Elena's pain turned into fire, not of destruction, but of liberation. The storm faded into a soft drizzle by dawn, the streets washed clean yet heavy with memory. Elena walked slowly, her soaked clothes clinging to her, the letter crumpled in her hand. Every step echoed with the weight of choice, whether to let the truth destroy her or set her free. She whispered, "I am still standing." Her voice was hoarse but steady, a fragile vow born from fire. The world seemed quieter, as though listening to her breath. For the first time, she felt the power of survival, not as a gift from others, but as something she had claimed herself. Later that morning, Grace found her sitting on the church steps, her hair tangled, her eyes red but alive. "You're still here," Grace said softly. Elena managed a faint smile. "I thought I wouldn't be." Grace sat beside her, offering warmth in silence. For a long moment, neither spoke, only breathing in the quiet morning air. Elena whispered, "I thought truth would kill me. But maybe it's the lie that was killing me all along." Grace touched her hand, steady and sure. "Then you've already won, Elena. You're free." Elena closed her eyes, letting the words settle deep within. Marcus appeared in the distance, his shoulders stooped, his face hollowed by guilt. He paused, watching Elena from afar, unable to step closer. She lifted her gaze, meeting his eyes across the space between them. He mouthed something she couldn't hear, then lowered his head and walked away. Elena's chest ached, but she didn't call after him. Some wounds weren't meant to heal together. She whispered to herself, "Not all endings are reconciliations. Some are just release." The silence that followed was not suffocating this time. It was wide open and waiting for her next breath. Samuel approached quietly, carrying an envelope of his own. "This is everything Daniel kept from you," he said, his voice low with remorse. Elena looked at him, her eyes steady now. She didn't reach for it. "I don't need it," she replied, her tone calm but firm. Samuel blinked, startled. "But the answers?" She shook her head gently. "The truth I needed wasn't on paper. It was here, in surviving, in facing all of you." Samuel lowered the envelope, guilt shadowing his face, but respect rising in his eyes. Elena turned back to the horizon, her spirit unchained. As the sun rose higher, Elena stood alone, the world washed new in pale gold. She inhaled deeply, her lungs filling with a freedom she thought she had lost forever. She whispered, "The moment the truth came crashing, it broke me, but it also set me free." The wind carried her words into the morning air like a vow to herself. She closed her eyes, letting the light warm her face. There was pain, yes, but also peace. The kind born only when the soul has survived its storm. And in that silence, she finally felt whole again.